right, everybody, so welcome back. And let me just tell you, that song may just be adequately describing our next two guests because I believe they are cultural ambassadors. So I got a call earlier this week and the gentleman on the other line introduced himself and I said, yes, I know you. And I think he was a bit shocked. And I said, yes, I know of your work. And then he proceeded to tell me about Panazz. And I said, yes, I know about Panazz. Right? So I said, but the amount of excitement coming from the gentleman, I said, here's what. You need to come on set and you need to tell our viewers about this project that you do have. Because I think it's very, very important, and I think it is very important for them to tell you about the work that they have been doing. Yeah? So it's let me just say it's a pleasure to welcome on set this morning. We do have Bartholomew. You know him as Chef Finbar. You know the gentleman? Look, the gentleman there. Yeah? And his nephew, Adam Bartholomew. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming this morning. We do appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having us. I love being here.
Yeah? All right, so here's what. Let's get right into this. Panazz, the film. Of course, our viewers would know that Barry has been an integral part, I suspect a founder of Panazz.
Yeah.
We know of the work that you would have done over the years. And I think for some, I mean, it was great work that Panazz was doing, you know, and I think that the work that you all were doing, it may have been work before its time, because I think it may have been the first time we would have seen something such as this.
Yeah, but no social media back then.
No social media.
Yeah, I think that's what's surprising everybody, because it was a 10-year period between 1992 and 2002. That's the 10-year gap that Panazz occupied. And we sort of dominated the small ensemble category. But as I said, there was no social media, so therefore there's a huge part of the population who didn't even know who Panazz was and what we were doing internationally. And we did a lot internationally, and that's why I'm so glad the movie was made, because it's now showing just what we accomplished overseas and locally, you know. Yeah. And, of course, doing 5 CDs as well. I mean, what band has done 5 CDs? It's a lot that we did, you know.
Yeah.
And a very high quality as well. So,
So Adam, tell us about Panazz, the film.
Well, I've grown up hearing about Panazz from my uncle, but I was born in 2003, and as Uncle Barry said, Panazz disbanded in 2002.
Bad timing, bad timing.
I wish I could have been around. But I've grown up listening to their music as well, and hearing little fragments of stories from various of my relatives. So when I took a musicology class at Harvard University 2 years ago, we were given the task to choose a musical entity or musical phenomenon in the latter half of the 20th century that's pushed boundaries in society. And I felt that Panazz fit that description. And because I was living on my own abroad, away from Trinidad and Tobago for the first time, I think I was very motivated to tell a story about the steel pan, which is something I'm really passionate about as well as a musician. And what better band to tell that story with than Panazz, which was one of the greatest steel pan ensembles of all time. So I got in touch with Uncle Barry and told him that I could come home for spring break, and asked if he could help me out with organizing interviews. And so he was able to help me pull in 4 of the key players, including himself, Dane Gulston, Natasha Joseph, and Donald Thomas. And we were able to do those interviews in his kitchen, because now he's a chef.
Yeah.
And he also did a lot of work to find all the archival photos and videos, and he provided me with 5 of their CDs. And then over the next 2 months, before the deadline for the school project, I was able to edit everything together. And that was really an amazing process for me, because it was the first time I got to experience their amazing story in a very intimate way. And then I submitted it and shared it with Uncle Barry. And then he had another idea to take it further, which he could tell you about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been very humble, not to mention he got an A+ in Harvard on that, because he's the only one in the class who did a movie. Everybody else did a written documentary, you know. So the professors were quite blown away. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But on seeing the final edit that Adam did, I was blown away just at the possibilities it could be. And I felt that it has to be shown somewhere else besides Harvard. And let's try and tackle it now to be shown at the film festival 4 months later, or 3 months later.
Yeah.
And the deadline had passed already. But I managed to make a couple of phone calls, and they watched the film, and before 24 hours passed, they said yes, they want this as part of the film festival in September. So we submitted it in the film festival. The only category that was left available at that time was a student film. So we went with that, because every other category was closed. Mm-hmm. And we won People's Choice Award against top-notch filmmakers, which was quite a surreal accomplishment, you know. But the movie connected. It connected with the public, and we had cinema number one with 400 seats filled on numerous occasions in Movie Town for a story on a band that no longer exists. And because those who saw it spread the word, it started to build like that, you know, because when you come to see the movie, it's more than you expect, I think, in your imagination as to what it'll be about until you actually see it, you know. Yeah.
But you have an event this evening, right?
Yes.
Please tell us about that.
Yeah. It's we're doing a private screening at Gemstone. It's really just for media and also for, I must mention, Caribbean are now on board with us as well, which we're very happy about because the way they latched on instantly was quite encouraging. Because as you know, it's very hard to get people to put their money where their mouth is. Mm-hmm. But Carib was instantly on board, and this showing tonight is ready for their executives and whatnot, and also people in the media and a few personalities in music. So it's just a 30-seater in Gemstone. But as a result of this, we then are now going to start doing our summer tours with the movie coming off from, it started actually this month, but it's going to continue until September. You know, there's a long list of places that we've been invited to, you know. Yeah. Just to mention as well, after the movie was made for the film festival, after Christmas and Carnival, I had a bunch of ideas as well how to improve the movie. Mm-hmm. And both in storyline, visuals, and from an audio perspective. So I mentioned it all to Adam as well, and he was on board once he heard the ideas. So we got it sent across to the Halo Film Company in London, and they took an iPhone recording and transformed it into surround sound, which cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to do, because that transition is a huge jump to get surround sound. Yeah. And then we also got visuals of Trinidad and Tobago put in, and the storyline is more accurate now with a more accurate ending as to why the band ended. Yeah. It gets very emotional in the ending, but that's just how it happened. And yes, we're very proud of what it is now today.
Yeah. And we also have to mention in that process that the person who came on board to do the mastering of the sound and put it into surround sound, which allows you to really be immersed in the band's music as if you're there, was a guy named Graham Carr. And he's a Trinidadian sound engineer that's based in London. So we're really thankful to him. And then to sort of sponsor that whole post-production process, we collaborated with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, as well as Hardco Experiences and Midco Steel Pans. Yeah,
they were also instantly on board. That was great, you know.
Yeah, but you know, Adam, when this assignment was proposed to you, I think almost immediately, I think you would have had an aha moment. Well, I have an uncle, right? Who was so integral in Panazz and so on, and a performer. But I'm just wondering, as you went through the exercise, because I'm thinking as a student now, that you may have thought some way along the way, well, here's what, I may have stumbled upon a gold mine here, you know. And I'm just wondering, what was that experience like for you? Because I'm sure that in some eras it may have been eye-opening for you as it relates to Pan, not only the band, but the culture of Trinidad and Tobago. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, well, for sure, it was definitely like an aha moment, because I think in February of 2023, when I first discovered this project that I would have to do, around that same time, Uncle Barry had shared an article with me about a time that, or one of the times that Panazz performed in Boston Symphony Hall, which I had actually recently visited because I'm studying in Boston. I went to see one of my favorite cellists perform, and I saw that beautiful hall. And so when he shared that with me, it was sort of providential and like perfect timing, because I just experienced what an amazing place this was. And so to realize that Panazz had performed there made me realize the level that Panazz had taken things to, and made me realize this is the perfect thing for this project. And I was motivated initially just to like be able to convey Pan, and by extension Trinidad and Tobago, to my classmates through telling their story. And then I think it was definitely a privilege to be able to have Uncle Barry, to work so closely alongside, because with regards to things like getting all the material and all the rights cleared and whatnot, that having him as my uncle made all that a breeze. And if it had been any other band or musical entity I was working with, that would have been a challenge.
It was just easy as picking up the phone, Uncle Barry. You think you could clear this for me? Yeah, all right, okay.
Yeah. So
well, actually, when he called me, he said, Uncle Barry, I'm coming out to Trinidad tomorrow to do a movie. What? What movie? I mean, literally, it was like, bam, and he arrived the next day.
Yeah.
And I went to the kitchen and had vodka, rum, punch.
And some mulao.
And some mulao.
yeah.
And I was set. And it all flowed from there. You know? So,
What has the response been, and more so internationally, and more so from your colleagues, your friends?
Well, I think for many of my friends, so I had a couple small screenings at Harvard, and I think for them, they just like were completely gripped by the film.
Yeah.
And for many of them, it's their first time experiencing Pan. So I'm glad that their first time experiencing Pan could be of such a high standard as Panazz.
Yeah.
And many of them now listen to Panazz's music on Spotify and Apple Music, which all the music is now streaming. So it's just great that anytime moving forward, when they think about steel pan or they encounter steel pan in their future, wherever their careers take them, they're going to remember Panazz.
And that's huge by itself, the response of people watching it overseas.
Yeah.
It's a common story, the appreciation for Pan overseas as compared to here sometimes with certain people. It's really impressive for me. Even when I went to DC last week, we opened the DC Film Festival last week. We were chosen as a movie to open the film festival. And the reaction, like if there's a ooh or an ah at a certain point in the movie here, it's ooh and ah a little bit louder there, because they're so zoned in. They're so taking every single ounce of it in, especially locals who are longing for it, you know what I'm saying? So I want to mention something very important as well. As a result of Midco, Steel Pan Factory, being involved in the movie, there was an idea that I had with regards to using Midco's 3-minute commercial for the Steel Pan Factory to be shown prior to the movie. So anywhere in the world now, you're going to get 3 minutes of how a pan is made.
Right.
And then the movie starts afterwards. It's a great combination.
Right.
As a result of that, Adam now has steel pans, new steel pans from Midco, and he's just formed the first steel pan in Harvard called Harvard Steel.
All right.
That's huge.
Yeah. So I'm super grateful to Uncle Barry and for Panazz, and all the players who were involved in making the film, because it's really sort of led through this deal with Midco to acquiring some pans and paved the way for us to attain that full set of steel pans for the Harvard College Steel Pan Ensemble. And my friend Elizabeth Bennett and I were able to finally start the ensemble, which we'd been working on establishing for two years prior, but just couldn't find the funds to get the instruments. And so we started in September, and we now have a close group of us who are committed and super passionate about playing the instrument and spreading the music of steel pan to the whole of campus and beyond. So it's just so amazing that Panazz led to the formation of this new ensemble. So even though Panazz is banded,
and of course Donald Trump, it's his favorite university, Donald Trump. So he's thrilled that there's a steel pan.
You should send one of the copies of the film to him.
Yeah. He loves the idea.
So all right. So of course this is going to well, I think it is safe to say that you all are going to be on tour when it comes to exposing this film to so many people.
I can list those places if you want.
Yeah.
We've been to Toronto, we've been to Boston, we've been to DC last week, we've been to Barbados the day after DC. As a result of Barbados now, we're now in the Carifesta, because there were some officials from Carifesta that were there. And they said they want to have this movie throughout the island during Carifesta, which is fantastic. Because getting into the Caribbean first, I think, is our main goal.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And then there's a list from there going from, we're now currently being played at the Windrush Film Festival in London. We are going to London as well afterwards with a different organizing group to hit the rural districts. There's a film cinema in Brixton called the Ritzy that we're looking at getting that booked for July, mid-July, and then other areas in the Steel Pan community in London. Fly back to New York, and this, I'm going to mention this. It's not tied down yet, but I'm going to throw it out there because it could be very impressive. Tribeca.
Yes.
We have a committee, a London committee, a New York committee that we talk with now and then. And there is Tribeca opportunity for a 1,000-seater that's available on August the 11th, United Nations Steel Pan Day. And to have Panazz perform on that particular Steel Pan Day with hopefully, I'm saying hopefully, Trinidad All-Stars, because most of Panazz came from Trinidad All-Stars. Okay. So combine those two and Tribeca would be massive. And there's a possibility, of course, of having All-Stars in Times Square. I'm throwing that out there because there is a visa situation which we're trying to get help with, you know.
All right.
But once that is done, can you imagine All-Stars in Times Square?
Yeah.
Amplified for the whole Caribbean community. Yeah. That's happening. And then after that, there's also Japan is in the works, and also New Orleans, and also
So it's
Miami.
a world tour.
Yeah, Miami.
It's a world tour. You all are going to be very, very tired, gentlemen. Yeah. So I have about 30 seconds again. Anything else you'd like to
Well, I guess just to add to it is, like, as we mentioned, it's a world tour. We believe that it's a very universal film. So another thing about, like, when I've shown it to my friends at university and when we've had all these international screenings, we're always amazed at how people connect with the story, because it's not just about Steel Pan and about the wonderful music that they were able to create, but also the family bond that was at the center of the band and what made them so close as a unit and able to feed off of each other and build on each other's energy when they performed. So it's those things that could connect with anybody, no matter how much you're into Pan or music.
Big up each player in the Panazz, because their skills is what made Panazz Panazz. Natasha, Donald, Dane, Richard Joseph, Coombs, Keith Coombs, Popwell. The list goes on. Furious Walker, Nigel Williams. They're all big people in Pan now. You know, Nigel is the captain of Trinidad All-Stars. Donald is conducting about 10 bands. Tasha is the number one player in the female player in the country. So the band has let off a lot of talent. You know,
gentlemen, you see what I told you all before the gentlemen came. I told you all about the good work that they have been doing and they continue to do. Gentlemen, we wish you all the best. You know,
thanks, Marlon.
And thank you for the music over the years. Yeah, look all here. What?
I think it should fit. I had a rap. I think medium. I went with medium.
Yeah, you fit, man. Yeah.
Gentlemen,
thank you very much again, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thanks for having us, Marlon.
Thank you very much.
All right, everybody, we're coming back.